Am I scary? Or intimidating in some way? I don't know. But I might be, because several times I have encountered people that have seemingly been either scared of or intimidated by me. I don't know if they actually are, but it seems like it. And I'm just wondering why. Now, I have 3 big examples that I'm gonna bring up later in the video of these instances where people have been scared of or intimidated by me, seemingly. I don't know if that's the case, but seemingly. But first, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about why that could be. Just visually, I mean, I have dark hair, big bushy eyebrows, and a beard, and this is my resting face. And I'm also quite tall. I'm 199 centimeters. I'm 1 centimeter away from being 2 meters tall, so quite tall. And while I'm not particularly muscular, I'm actually quite skinny. I do have like pretty broad shoulders and big long limbs, which comes with being tall, of course. So even though I'm quite skinny, I have like a large frame. It's like I'm big, but I'm thin. I'm like a sail. Like, I'm very tall, I have broad shoulders, but like a thin, non-muscular body. So, especially if I'm wearing like a jacket in the winter that hangs upon me, creates the illusion of that I'm like a big and strong. Well, I'm just... It's the framework is big, but the actual body mass is quite small. So I feel like those can be some contributing factors to why people, at least on sight, could be a little bit scared of or intimidated by me. Which is ridiculous because I'm quite timid, shy, and not really a scary person at all. There's also nothing to be scared of. I also don't know, do I give off some sort of vibe that I seem scary because of vibes or something? I don't know, that's hard for me to tell because only other people can tell vibes. And no one I know could say that to me. Would have to be a stranger that would say like, yeah, you seem kind of unfriendly or something like that. Because someone I already know already knows that I'm not, so... that I'm not unfriendly, that is. Though I am quite a bit of a lone wolf, so maybe I give off a bit of a vibe of like, don't bother me? I don't know. I don't do it intentionally. But yeah, as I said earlier, 3 big examples on that in my life, which has led me to think about this topic and bring it up now in this conversation video, which I haven't done in a while. So the first one is really not one particular event, but rather many. This is the one that happens most often, because I work as a mailman, and sometimes when I'm a mailman I have smaller packages, and sometimes they don't fit in like the letter boxes on the doors, like the little slides, the slots on the doors. I don't know what they're called in English. So then I decide sometimes to be a nice guy and check if someone's home. So I knock on the door to see if anyone's there, and they can just accept it so they don't have to go and pick it up at like the place I will send it to otherwise. And not overly often, but I would say at least 1 out of 10 times, which doesn't sound much at all, but considering how much I work 5 days a week and almost every day I knock on people's doors, 1 out of 10 of this happening is quite a bit, honestly. Maybe it's less than that, but either I get people who look through their like holes and ask like, yeah, what do you want? Even though they can clearly see that I'm wearing a mailman uniform. Yeah, I have a package here for you. And then they open up and I accept it. But the ones that affect me the most, that I find almost funny, is people who don't look. They open up and then they see me and they recoil. Like physically, like like jump back almost a little bit when they see me, because well, I'm guessing because of my tallness, my tallity. It's probably like they don't expect it, but if someone knocks on your door and you're open and oh, there was someone there, like you shouldn't really get scared. But it has happened several times with different people, more often with elderly, I would say. Maybe because they are home more often, but yeah, I get that. But like there are stories of elderly here, at least here in Sweden, that people come and knock on the doors and say and lie about where they are from. Like, yeah, we're from the electric company or something, and we're just gonna check something in your apartment, and they trick them to let them in, and they like steal something while they're there, and then they leave. But I'm just a mailman there to deliver a package, so. I don't steal. I do not steal. Why do I even bring that up? Of course I don't. But then I would say it's more of like being careful about it. And not so much like the acting as if you're jump scared when you open the door after someone knocked. That's just a bit weird to me. And there was another instance that doesn't have anything to do with that, but I was done delivering mail in one building, and I was on my way down the stairs, and someone who lived there came in at the bottom. I could hear them, and so we meet like halfway, and I'm being as tall as I am and also being above this person. I just said hi on the way down, and she just looked up at me like, hi? Look, like almost really scared, and she like leaned to the side like as I passed her by. Not because there was enough room in the stairs, but she was like, she looked, oh, not terrified, but like very skeptical too. And I'm wearing a mailman's uniform, and I have more letters with me for the next building, so it's quite obvious what I'm doing there. Yeah, so sometimes I find it quite odd that people get scared by or scared of or intimidated by me, seemingly. Now the other two examples are different. A couple of weeks ago, I went to visit my brother, who lives not on the entirely other side of the city, but ish. So I had to take the tram there. And the tram station I get on is the first one on that line. So it's completely empty, the tram, as I get on. It's just me and a couple of other people that would go on here. And then as it goes through town, more people come on, and especially once you get closer to the center of the city, more and more people collectively gather on the tram. And the thing is, you might have heard about Sweden, is that we are quite like socially awkward in a way. Like we try to keep our distance from people we don't know. And so you see those jokey images on the internet of like Swedes at bus stops where we stand like one over here, next one over here, next one over there, and it keeps going. You don't want to stand close to strangers. And the same goes for like in buses and trams. Like because there's usually like two seats next to each other, two on that side and two on that side, and you walk through the middle, as you know. And in Sweden, unless we have to, we don't like to sit down next to strangers. So you'd sit in one of those two-seaters alone, and generally, if you're alone, you would find one of those empty ones and sit there, if that's possible. And so, as the tram goes through the city, and more people are coming on there, some people come in pairs or more, and they sit together, obviously. And alone people seek out the empty seats, and they sit down there. But eventually, like, there's no empty seats left, only like next to strangers, like seats next to strangers are available. And so people start to sit on those anyway. And once that starts to fill up, people just stand in the middle. The thing is, during almost the entire ride, it was just like for the last two stations that this wasn't the case. No one sat down next to me. And I sort of appreciate that in a way, because, well, it's nicer to sit alone. But it makes me wonder why. Because there were people sitting, as far as I could see, in the entire tram, and people sitting next to strangers everywhere except for next to me. And then there was tons of people standing up. even though there was a seat next to me empty, no one in that area of the tram wanted to sit there. And I'm just, as I said, I'm grateful in a way because it's nicer to sit alone and get that space for yourself. But why? I get curious. Why? Do I look that scary or intimidating? And I was thinking, do I smell bad or something? Like, no. Like, I asked my brother, like, do I smell weird when I got there? And he was like, no, you're fine. And since I'm not fat, as I mentioned, I do have a larger frame, but I'm skinny, so I'm just very tall, so I don't take up room on that other seat. So that wouldn't be a reason where people wouldn't sit next to me. So I don't understand it. It's weird. And then the last example, which I think is the coolest one, if you can say that, is so a little bit of backstory to this one. So I ride to work on my bike, to and from work. And I have my bike in a little bike room downstairs. And since I use my bike every day every work day to get to and from work, I need to have it easily accessible. So I can't just tuck it away in a corner and you have to go there and dig it out from other bikes or anything like that. I need an easy access so that I can quickly go in and get it when I'm going to work. And I've lived here for almost 2 years now, and when I moved in, I was lucky enough to find a pretty good spot where the bike was accessible, where I put it, and I've had it there ever since, and there was no problems with that. But then, at the end of last summer, after I'd already had my bike in that spot for well over a year, some other bike appeared in the bike room who started putting their bike in that spot as well. Like, I would get home from work and I'd see, oh, there's another bike in my spot. It's not technically my spot, but I've been putting my bike there for over a year. No one's messed with it. And so I sort of considered it sort of my spot. Now, it's quite big, so I figured, well, both of our bikes sort of fit in there, but this person put their bike in the middle. So I just picked up their bike, moved it a little tiny bit to the left so that my bike would fit in there too. I'm okay with sharing that spot as long as I don't have to put my bike elsewhere where it takes longer for me to get it. And so the next morning as I come down, that bike is gone, which means that person leaves before me. And then when I got home, their bike was there in the middle again, taking up the entire spot. So I sort of figured it's probably some kid who uses their bike to go to school because they would start before me and then they would get home before me as well. And so every day when I get home, I move their bike a little bit to the left and put mine there as well. And they know that I'm doing this because they keep putting their bike in the middle, and when they get there in the morning, they see that I moved their bike and mine is next to it. So it's not like they're not seeing it, I guess. So either they are trying to be an asshole about it, this is from my point of view, and just keep putting it in the middle like, no, I'm claiming this spot, even though I had it first. Or they're just that like blind and just not understanding it, not seeing anything happening. And then winter came, this last winter that was, and then I bike all year round to work. No matter the weather, because it's the fastest and easiest way for me to get to work. But this person didn't. They stopped using their bike during the winter. So then it was just standing there and I could just use my spot normally because I put their bike a little bit to the left. And it was just staying there because they weren't using it. And now, as I'm recording this, spring has pretty much just started. So a couple of weeks ago, this person started using their bike again. And it just so happened that one day I needed to get to work earlier. So I got ready and I got down to the bike room earlier than usual. And as I stand there unlocking it, there comes up a person behind me and also goes in the bike room after me. And as I stand there unlocking my bike, they start unlocking their bike, which happens to be the one next to mine that has been this story has been all about. And it's a kid who's... guess maybe 10, 11, 12-ish years old. And he just looks at me. We don't say anything to each other. We don't talk at all. Like, he sort of looks at me, and I just look back at him. We don't say anything. We don't do anything. And I keep unlocking my bike. He keeps unlocking his. He leaves. I leave. When I got back home, his bike was a little bit to the left, leaving room for mine. And every day since, it has been. So I don't know if he just realized that, and out of respect he started doing that, or if he was scared by me, like intimidated by me. And I was like, oh my god, that guy, now he knows who I am. I better put the bike so that he can fit his bike. Like, I don't know, because he didn't look scared or anything. He just looked kind of like neutral. I don't know, maybe I'm just reading into things. But it's weird how it just makes me feel like people are sometimes intimidated by me just looks-wise. When people get to know me or would just talk to me a little bit, that would wear off immediately because of how, like, timid I am. And I'm like, I don't like conflict. I can't really handle it. But all of these examples have made it so that it's something I've been thinking about for a while. I had written down the idea of writing about this a long time ago. Talking about this a long time ago on my list of topics to use for these conversation videos. But lately I had all of these events happen, which I brought up as examples. So I figure, like, yeah, now is a really good time to actually shoot that video, which I'm doing right now. So what do you guys think? Do I seem like scary or intimidating in any way? Like, I guess it's mainly based upon only looking at me and not really interacting with me. Which you guys technically aren't doing. You're looking at me, but I'm interacting with you, or I'm interacting at you rather. So maybe it doesn't work that way. Maybe I should just upload a video of me just standing still somewhere, looking like serious, and then you show it to someone who doesn't know who I am and ask them, make like a poll, like, does this guy look scary? Oh no, I will not do that. That's a dumb idea. Either way, let me know what you think about this, and also let me know about yourselves. Do people get scared by you? Or do you get scared of other people, just like intimidated by just seeing them, or they give off some sort of vibe? I don't know, let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Boom. Yay. Hey. Boom, boom. Yay. Watch some videos. Hey. Boom.